Bill Herrmann, are you there?
I am.
Yeah, right, Bill. How are you doing?
I'm doing fine.
Well, as we talked to you about 6 or 7 months ago, Bill, you had gone through an incredible experience. And I know there are a lot of people listening tonight that weren't with us that first night. Would you like to quickly go over that again, what happened to you? Hello?
In November of 77, I saw a UFO for the first time, I guess it was.
Can you speak up a little bit, Bill?
Yeah. In November of 77, I saw a UFO, and what began as some visual sightings turned into multi-sightings. In other words, a group of sightings taking place over an extended period of weeks in the local area.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I was of the impression that it was some kind of government military project because it was so close, the sightings were so close to the Air Force installation here in Charleston.
Yes.
Well, you know, up until March 78, sightings started in November of 77. And up until March of 78, I was completely convinced it was some kind of government project.
Mm-hmm.
But in March of 78, I was watching the object. It was about 9:30 in the evening. And I was watching the object move in the sky in triangle patterns, up, down, back, up and down, back, across the sky. And the object dropped to just above the marsh area on the Ashley River here in Charleston. And the next thing I knew, I was standing on the train tracks over here by the river watching it. And the next thing I knew, I was in a location 15 miles away, and it was 2 hours later. And it seemed to me just less than 5 minutes.
In other words, you were in one place, and then you were suddenly 15 miles away.
Yes, and I couldn't remember how I got there, and I was deathly afraid. I mean, I'm 27 years old, and I was petrified.
Well, as I remember the story that you told us before, Bill, that you've had to go through hypnotic regression to find out what happened there, and Dr. Jim Harder was involved with that. And just briefly, what did you go through as you look back over it now through these experiences that you've had?
Well, retrospectively, I had to go through some kind of session to help my subconscious recall, and to help me remember what happened to me. And I went through an extensive period of testing and regressive hypnosis and all this, and through that testing, it came out that I had actually been taken into the UFO.
You'd been taken into the UFO. Now, how many times have you been taken into that UFO?
Twice.
You've had two. Could we call those abductions, or did you kind of go on your own?
The first time was an abduction. The second time was more or less voluntarily on my part.
Curiosity, or you just felt comfortable doing it?
Compulsion.
Compulsion.
To go to a certain place.
What did you find whenever you went on board?
I found, well, the first time, like I say, I woke up on the table, and there was some lights flashing on the ceiling, and I thought I was in some kind of hospital room. Because when I was standing on the train track and the object dropped, it startled me, and I fell backwards, and I thought I had fallen and hurt myself, and somebody had found me, and I was in some kind of hospital. But then when I focused and opened my eyes and all, I was standing, well, not standing, I was lying, and there were standing next to me 3 individuals about 4.5 feet tall with no eyes.
No eyes?
I mean, no, it's very late here. No eyebrows, no eyelashes. The eyes have it's like you get a flashlight, shine a flashlight to a cat's eyes.
Right.
That same kind of reaction. the pupils, just dark brown irises, and the mouth like a slit in where the nose was. It was very pressed in. There was absolutely no ears.
No ears whatsoever.
No hair any whatsoever. Just like human fetus.
You know, you're describing the human fetus kind of alien being that we've heard a great deal about. Certainly Leonard Stringfield has talked about the fact that there's a great possibility that some of those craft have crashed here in the United States. We've talked about here, and the beings they found on a number of those are very similar to those. Are you familiar with Leonard's work?
I have. When I went to Cleveland, Ohio to give a lecture to a research group there, Mr. Stringfield came down because we had talked over the phone quite extensively. He was trying to see if there's any correlation between what I had seen and what he is researching.
What did you find out?
Yes, and well, the description of the entity is by some coincidence, if you want to call it that, almost identical except for the hands are described differently.
The hands were the only thing that was different?
Well, the hands on some of the entities he's studying, the carcasses or the corpses, whatever you want to call them, there's some kind of webbing between the fingers. Whereas the one I saw, I don't recall any webbing.
You don't recall seeing that. Let's get back to that story in just a minute if we can, Bill, and we'll see if we can reestablish with Coleman, who is very, very deeply involved in this kind of research, in just a moment. Flying object, or the UFO, and in some cases some people think it's a IFO. We've been talking to Bill Herrmann, who's speaking to us from South Carolina tonight, and he's been talking about a rather strange case he had in which on 2 different occasions he was taken on board one of these flying saucers, and he has described the beings on board for us who were small, about 4 feet high. They looked like a full-grown fetus. Let's continue with Bill Herrmann's story about the things that happened to him. Bill, you want to continue that? Now, later on, you met with Leonard Stringfield. You went to Cleveland, and you identified some beings that he had found in his research that came out of crashed disk, and they were very, very similar, except in some minor discrepancies about the hands of the ones you had seen.
Yes,
now, in talking to those people, can you speak up a little bit, Bill?
Yeah.
Did they give you an idea where they were from?
They did. Well, they told me that the information on where they were from was a twofold source of origin. And then I asked questions from what I could understand about the phenomenon, past cases that I had heard about. And they told me that they were from a place where we call Zeta Reticuli.
Zeta 1, Zeta 2 Reticuli, yes. The twin star system, yes.
Yes, and they said, when I say they, I mean to say the one who did all the speaking. There was 3 of them that was with me at all times, but only one of them did the speaking. And they told me that they were conducting what they called direct observances in the continental western hemisphere. They were conducting experiments in hydrodynamics, and they were conducting experiments in reverse osmosis. Apparently they can take energy from the magnetic field of the Earth and energy from kinetic energy, and they seem to do some kind of experiments with it.
So they're just, that particular group seemed to be here on some sort of an experimentation run on the planet Earth.
They mentioned geometry, geographical mapping, extensive, what they call a direct observance, is synonymous
direct observance,
with abduction.
Yeah. You didn't find anything threatening about them, though, did you, in the experience that you did?
Only the second experience. And the second experience that involved being on board the object, and then we were in flight over somewhere between Charleston and Florida. And one of the occupants looked at the one who did all the talking and said, he says, kind of moved his head. I didn't hear any words. but I knew he said something to me because the minute the guy did that, the other one looked at me, and the one who did all the talking, and he said, "We are being observed." And the minute he said that, we walked over to a panel. It looked like a cross between a television set and an open window. And we looked at that, and it was like looking out of a window from up in a high building, looking down on the ground.
Right.
And there was a highway, trees. There was looked like an orange grove to one side of the highway. And then there was like a straightaway, like a long stretch of road.
Right.
And there was cars, two cars. And then it was like the picture, the image on the panel, it just kind of didn't zoom in like a camera zoom in. It was like it was at a distance, and all of a sudden it was close up. Like the image got real close.
Yeah.
And the focus, the car in the front looked like a Pinto wagon, and the car in the back looked like a Buick, big Buick. And there was a woman in the Pinto wagon, and there was a man in the Buick, and they were both looking up, from the car.
Right.
And he says, the guy who did all the talking, he looked at me and he says, "Watch what happens as we move closer to observe." And the minute he said that, I didn't feel any motion. But the minute he said that, the woman jumped into her car and locked the door. And then the image focused on the door in her hand. And she was holding the lock on the door down, And then the guy who did all the talking looked at me and said, "That's a foolish gesture if we wish to direct the bird." It kind of implied that he had the power to either make her open the door or to get the door open if he wanted to take her.
But that was the nearest thing to a threat that you found out of this group.
Aside from that one statement, there was absolutely no hostility whatsoever.
Had a conversation with Bill Herrmann in South Carolina, who last year had two experiences in which, as he claims, he was taken aboard. One of these craft, he was hypnotically regressed by Dr. Jim Harder from University of California at Berkeley, and was able to tell a story from there. That has not happened to him since then, although he has sighted those craft in that particular area where he works. Now, we had to let Bill go because the line was just too bad to continue with that conversation, but it is quite a story that he has to say, and he is a delightful young man.